A to the K.
To the K.
To the K.
Hello, one and all. Welcome to the A to the K Wrestling Show, where today we are joined by one of wrestling's fastest rising stars. You've seen her in AEW, Ring of Honor, WOW, NWA, and WWE, to name but a few. The one and only top tier Jazmin Allure. Jazmin, thanks so much for being here. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm good. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're good, thank
very
you.
good, thank
Very
you.
good. Snowing here, which is
Yeah,
doesn't
it's a bit
often
different,
happen. I imagine it's a bit warmer where you are. But yeah, so first of all, we just wanted to say a huge congratulations on your recent graduation. So yeah, congrats. Um, we were just wondering, is there anything from your bachelor's in public relations that you plan on using to kind of help build your brand in the wrestling world?
Yeah, so I actually did two degrees. I got an associate's in business and then a bachelor's in PR, and like wrestling's a business itself. So that helps
Mhm.
a lot. PR is like advertising, marketing, social media, communications, and all that ties like really well with wrestling. So it helps me like with my social media, like communication and all that stuff. So it's really helpful.
Awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah. So I just wondered if we could ask really how has it been sort of juggling wrestling school alongside your education?
It was crazy. It was pretty hectic because like sometimes I would like fly out Friday and then I come back Monday and like straight to school. So it was so hectic. And then there was like a time where I had like wrestling wasn't like paying all the bills. So I had two jobs. I was in school and wrestling. So it was pretty crazy. I will say like time management helped me a lot. Like I would have a physical calendar to get things done. I'm like, okay, I'm out this weekend, then I come back, then I got classes, like homeworks due and like projects and all that stuff. I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
No, hats
Yeah.
off to you.
Yeah, sounds incredibly full on. It's crazy to think you've only been kind of doing this for like 4.5 years, considering not only how good you are, but your resume, obviously, I listed off in the intro. Something unique about your WWE appearances, both of your matches were actually televised, obviously, main event and SmackDown. What have you learned from your experiences with WWE, and kind of how did it feel to have both of your matches with them kind of on TV?
That was so exciting. WWE has always been the goal. That is
Mhm.
still the goal, like to get signed there. It was great. It was great and like surprising to get matches. They're like very last minute. Like I just show up for extra work, maybe just
Mhm.
sit around. But like when they tell me like I have a match and it's just very exciting and like you kind of like a pinch me moment. And then afterwards, I remember like my first match was with Tamina. We got some feedback from AJ Styles, which one of the best.
Yeah.
And just feedback you get backstage there, you just learn a lot. Like every single time I go there, even if I'm not wrestling, the like advice I get there, it's like amazing.
Yeah, it's be amazing having all those characters
Oh,
backstage.
100%, yeah. I mean, as Carl mentioned, clearly WWE sees something in you, and we believe you actually had a tryout with them last year. I just wondered if you could tell us a bit more about your experience in the tryout process.
I can't really like talk too much about it. It's kind of
Of
like
course.
but it was so cool to be there in the performance center. And we even got to like, it wasn't the usual tryout where they just kind of do a bunch of like cardio and try to kill you. We actually got to be like in classes with assigned talent and work with them, which was really great. And also, you learn a lot. It seemed like just a week of learning experience. Like William Regal was there and he was giving great
That's awesome.
advice back. And he's so he sees stuff that like not a lot of other people see in wrestling. So that was kind of great to like pick his brain. So that was an amazing experience. Like I didn't think I wanted to be in that performance center, but sometimes you just like it seems like a dream that you just can't reach. It's like bigger than life. So it was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, there's definitely not many minds as great as William Regal's in the wrestling
100%,
world. What are your
yeah.
thoughts on the current kind of WWE ID program? Is that something that you think you'd like to kind of maybe think about?
Yes, I see a lot of people are getting a night announced. So hopefully, something happens there with me and them. That would be really cool. I don't know too much about like what the whole WWE ID and how that works, but it'd be super cool to be even part of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you'd definitely someone who would fit that mold 100%. Some of one of the companies I mentioned before, obviously, was Wow. You work closely with AJ Lee, and you were also her stunt double on Heels. What was it like working with her, and what was it like being kind of a stunt double?
That was so crazy. That was one of the best experiences ever. I went into there, like when they reached out, they're like, "Oh, we need like a stunt double. We think you'd be a great fit." And I was kind of like, "Oh, I've never done this before." And they didn't tell me who I was. Once I got there and saw her, I was like in shock because I would see her like on TV when I was like growing up. She's definitely an inspiration to me because growing up, I didn't see a lot of Latinas who were like the face of the companies, especially like
Mm.
my size, like we're literally like the same height and stuff. So it was cool to see that. And then meet her. She's so nice. You know, they always say like never meet your idols because you just never know. But she is literally like the nicest person I've ever met. And it's great to like meet someone like that in this business and who can guide you. And she definitely brought me along at WoW. She was over there and she gave me the opportunity to sign there and just learn from her. She was very like involved and creative and creating me and WoW and like my gear. She designed that. She was very helpful. So that was like one of the best experiences ever.
It was amazing.
So obviously, just as you started wrestling, the pandemic sort of hits the world, and at that time you get the call from AEW, and before you know it, you're working a number of matches with them. I just wondered if you can sort of talk about your sort of reaction at the time and sort of how it was working with them so early on in your career.
Yeah, that was wow. I wasn't even a year in, maybe like 10 matches in. So to get that email, and it was also kind of last minute. It was like a couple days before we had to like go out and fly to like Jacksonville. I feel like a lot of my opportunities have been like either like, you got to stay ready because you never know when it's
Yeah,
gonna come. That's really
Yeah.
like big. So luckily, like I was ready. I was like training really hard. So when I got the email, I was like, oh yes, like let's do it. But it happened all so fast. I think it took like 2 weeks to like actually like settle in. And that was such a big business. I was learning as I was going. Like AEW, like I'm so glad they gave me the opportunity because I was literally learning as I was out there. And it's cool to see like it's cool that I have like footage of like TV footage, I guess, of like how I started and then now because
yeah.
Mm.
it was like deer in headlights back then.
So you've spent a lot of time with Mission Pro as well. Obviously, that's been such a kind of a launch pad for incredible talent, obviously including yourself. What's been kind of the most rewarding part of working with the likes of Thunder Rosa, and what do you kind of make of the company kind of going on a bit of a brief hiatus?
Yes, that's also a company that like saw potential in me and gave me a platform to showcase my talent and working with Thunder Rosa, who she is killing it now. She just came back from like an injury, but like I got to learn a lot from her. I trained with her as well. Her and Jazz, they were doing the dog pound, which is now Jazz and Ronnie, but back then Thunder Rosa was a part of it. So to train with the past, present, and like future, it was so cool. Uh, I know they're on a hiatus, but I believe they're coming back soon. So I would love to be back there again because that locker room is so great. Like usually like when it's full of girls, it's like drama, but it's not. It's so like all the girls like just want everyone to do good. And I really love that about that locker room.
Obviously, during your time with Mission Pro, you were the first match of another former guest of our show, Izzy Moreno.
Mhm.
I just wonder what it was like being her first match.
Izzy, yes. She's another one that I'm like when she when she's on TV, she's like she's gonna kill it. That was a lot of fun actually, because everybody loves her. So it's so easy to like be mean to her and like get legally beat up a child, you know?
Yeah.
So fun. I'd love to do that again just because I made a little girl cry. Like I made a couple girls cry in the crowd, and I'm like not that type of person, but it was fun to be someone I'm not. And these girls like hated me because they loved Izzy. So it was like easy work.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Obviously, your whole story is just incredible. Leaving Mexico just 17, coming to the USA by yourself, getting a job, going to school, and ultimately following your dream of kind of becoming a pro wrestler, and supporting your parents as part of that as well. Like it's just obviously so impressive. How do you kind of reflect on the journey that you've had so far? And I know obviously you've got that amazing kind of like promo on I've seen on your Instagram where you kind of mentioned you were told not to dream too big, but what advice have you got for anyone who's told not to kind of dream too big?
Yeah, as cheesy as it sounds, I always say like follow your dreams and like even if no one believes in you, as long as you do, that's all it takes. And like that video was really like to show who I am because like the past 4 years you kind of see like me being like a cocky bitch. I don't know if I can curse.
Oh,
But
that was fine.
Go for it.
or like being like super sweet, but no one's ever really like heard my story, and it's a little different than most people. So I really wanted to put that out there just in case anybody was also going through the same, or like even people from my little like town in Mexico, like everyone there is just like, they don't get out because, there's not enough resources or not enough money and they're just like stuck there. And it's like, no, you can do more than just be stuck in this town. And that's why it was very important in the beginning to like show my town. I live like in the outskirts of Mexico City. So like it was really important to show that so people like can get inspired or even if it looks impossible, like you can do it. Just believe in yourself. It's cheesy as fuck, but it helped me get along.
No, I mean it's so impressive. Obviously, what you've done.
Exactly, yeah. Obviously, you've listed the four horsewomen as huge inspirations to you. And Mercedes Moné is obviously now with AEW. So I just wondered, is that something that you're hoping may be able to happen in the future in terms of matches?
Yes, I that is my dream match. Mercedes Moné, she's like the best. And even if it doesn't happen in AEW, maybe like New Japan or maybe Stardom.
Yeah, of
I have
course. Yeah.
those things, but like she's my dream match, and I'm putting it out there in the universe because I hope that happens one day. I used to watch. Me and my dad would actually watch her versus Charlotte when they were like going back and forth with the titles. Every week we would see like who's getting the title this week or something. And he's always like, when are you gonna wrestle her? He doesn't like understand how there's like so many different companies. He thinks it's just like one big like so he's like, when are you gonna wrestle her? And I'm like, I'm gonna try.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it a minute ago, but obviously, being top tier, you're obviously full of confidence and attitude and things like that. How much of that is the real Jasmine, and how do you kind of channel that energy when kind of stepping through the curtain if that's not your kind of personality?
I feel like top tier is like still me, but just 10 times more in the ring. And I like
Mm.
to do everything I do. It's still a part of me, unless I'm like super bitchy because like I don't like kids cry in real life. But uh, usually everything I do is me, just like 10 times more.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, so obviously you've worked with so many different wrestlers. I just wondered, has there been any particular wrestler or style that sort of brings out the best in Jazmin Allure?
Ooh. So I just did CMLL last month, which was also on my bucket list because before I got into this business, I was 19. And I don't really think I've said this story, but I was 19 and I was going through a lot. And my dad took me to a CMLL show. And I was like watching wrestling and I was like, okay, I'm at this show and I see my whole family there and I see like the whole wrestling and I'm like, I could do this. So I kid you not, like a week or two later, I was training already. That was really like what made me decide, like, this is what I want to do. Like being at that CMLL show like changed everything because I've always loved it and I've always wanted to do it, but I just never thought of it as a career. So like just being there, seeing the whole environment, which is incredible, my whole family, the wrestling, I loved it all. And I was like, this is what I have to do. So that was on my bucket list. And I finally got to do CMLL last month. And I think that match brought out the best of me because it's a different style. That was my first time wrestling in Mexico. So that was my first time. That was the first time my parents ever got to see me wrestle because they live in Mexico. So that was really exciting. They grew up going to that arena and they finally got to see like their daughter wrestle in that arena. So it was a really incredible moment. And I think that match really brought out the best. And I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously you've done the US, you've done obviously Mexico. You know, we'd love to have you over here in the UK. What's kind of on your bucket list of places or promotions that you want to kind of go to next?
Yeah, I would love to do Progress. Would love to do Japan. I think Stardom or TJPW, Matty Gold, Australia. I just would love to like travel the world, but definitely like Japan and the UK are like next. Like
Yeah.
I'm working.
Obviously, as fans, we'd love to have you over here in the UK. Definitely,
we could maybe speak to a few people of Progress, see what they're thinking.
That's it.
Obviously, you famously you DM'd Becky Lynch about kind of your goal one day being to wrestle in the WWE, and obviously you went on to kind of go and do that. If you could kind of send a DM to your future self, like maybe 5 years in the future, what would you kind of say to yourself? What kind of goals are you manifesting today?
Wow, that's a really good one. That's really good. What would I say to her? Um, Kind of along the lines like I hope you like man, actually really hard. Like
I know it's quite a big question, it's like a very loaded question, but
um there's one I get a lot that someone tells me often, so I would tell myself this like you're gonna be world champion. Like that's like one thing, like kind of putting it out there. Like someone always says, I have a really good friend who like gives me advice and he's always like these conversations are going to be so funny in 10 years or 5 to 10 years when you're champion. So something along the lines like you're world champion right now. You like WrestleMania, like something like that. Like I don't really like that's a really hard one.
No, fair enough. So you've got a huge match coming up on December the 1st, Ladies Night Out 14, champion versus champion against Angelica Risk. Are you looking forward to that match and are you planning on walking out Jazmin 2 belts?
Oh yeah, for sure. I can't wait. This is a first time ever match. And she's someone that I've seen around, so I know what she's capable of, but she's not top tier. So Jazmin 2 belts.
Love it.
Awesome.
Jazmin, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to actually come and join us today. Before we do let you go, can you kind of let everyone know how they can keep up to date with you and everything else that you've kind of got going on?
Yes, thank you for having me. You can follow me. My is at Jazmin Allure everywhere. Just simple. Jazmin, Allure.
Awesome. But yeah, honestly, that your whole story, the whole kind of everything about it is just really inspiring. You've clearly got, incredibly bright future. So we can't wait to see what's next. And I'm pretty sure in those 5 years that you'll be making all them kind of goals come true.
Thank you so much.